Key pound.
In a world
Get the hell up.
where Carolina Panthers fans
Anthony from Charlotte, keep motherfucking pounding.
have an insatiable thirst
I need to see a lot more of that shit going forward.
for Panthers news and opinions.
All my C3 brethren from the C3 Legion.
Only one podcast roars ferociously.
The longest running Panthers podcast on the internet.
It's the C3 Panthers Podcast.
Oh, Greg, I owe y'all $100, man.
What's up, Panther fans? The Carolina Panthers may be on a quest to get a number one wide receiver. Ejiro Evero is here to stay. And, man, Dan Morgan addressing the needs of the team. You're listening to the C3 Panthers Podcast, brought to you by CarolinaCatChronicles.com, where every Tuesday night we chop up the latest Panthers news and opinions from the fan perspective. My name's Tony Dunn. They call me the Professor. Each and every week I hang with my wheelman, Cody Lack. What's good, brother?
Tony Dunn, the season is over. But you know what? The C3 Panthers podcast, we don't run on seasons, Tony, because we're here year-round for this incredible C3 Legion that we have built up over the years, my brother. There is nowhere I'd rather be on a Tuesday night than sitting with my boys talking Panther football. And my goodness, Garrett Wilson has Panthers fans buzz. A ton to talk about tonight on potential trade for Garrett Wilson. Do the Panthers want to go all in on a number one wide receiver, or are we just going to, focus in on defense? We're also going to talk about Adam Thielen talking about retirement, Shaq Thompson thinking he has a couple of years left, and Ejiro Evero, the defensive coordinator of the defense that's given up the most points in NFL history, is being retained by our head coach, Dave Canales. Tony, CK, there is nowhere I'd rather be on a Tuesday night, and there's no one I'd rather be doing it with than the best damn Panther fans in all of YouTube. You know them and love them. It's Joey the Blind Panther, C3 Doug, Chase Hawkins, Chuck Price, ERH D-Max 4L, Justin ST, Muscles Marinara Paisan, Rock Rhyme, Shockhead, and your boy, your bastard son, White Chocolate Espresso. Tony Dunn, ain't nothing to it but to do it, brother. Let's roll.
The number is 252-228-5098. That's 252-228-5098. Call into the show. We'll get you on. We want to hear your thoughts on the Panthers' progress towards the end of the season, as well as the future outlook in free agency, the draft, and maybe an overall assessment of the Carolina Panthers. You guys fuel the show. Smash the thumbs up button and subscribe. Appreciate all the people in the chat and all the people that call in. I also appreciate my man CK, who is here rocking with us every Tuesday. How you doing, my friend?
Man, it's nice to have an off season that doesn't feel helpless. And not only that, it's nice to have an off season where players of other teams are commenting on the Panthers and who we have on our team, and almost, the fact that we're starting to see these current Panthers players start to recruit outside potential talent. That's something, man, I feel like we've been missing. That culture is building. I don't care what people say. I love the what Dan and Dave are doing, aside from one really big elephant in the room. Outside of that, man, I'm a really big fan of what these guys are, pulling together.
Yeah, we were very optimistic about Dan Morgan as he came in, or at least maybe there was a tinge of nostalgia because of his relationship to the Panthers in the past and us wanting him. We were all sitting here, last on the post-game show, I'm sitting here talking about, let's make Luke that defensive coordinator. He might be at some point. I'm still holding out hope. But really, Dan Morgan has done I think a noteworthy, at the very least, an exceptional job at the very best at taking over the helm of something that really just was so up and down for so many years in the front office. And then really a big win for the Carolina Panthers. While there were two assessments I had on the season, was Bryce Young needing to progress and us feel good about him going to offseason. You know what? It happened over the last 8 weeks. But really a hidden story is a first-time head coach in Dave Canales. while there are a lot of cool stories associated with him to quarterbacks and resurgence and things, and that really spoke to us as a team looking for some stability at the position, there still was, hey, this guy's never been a head coach, and we have been searching for one for a long time. And boy, I think that he really answered the call in his first year. And really, I mean, I know, but no one's going to me, he's coach of the year because at some point everybody was turning the channel and this team was about to turn. It felt like they were turning the channel, and Dave Canales persevered and kept that team together. So, man, commendable job to him. All right, bro, there ain't nothing to it.
But to do it,
let's get into tonight's show, man. Look, there's a lot. We were happy here. Happiest post-game show, I would say. Or I can't remember I would say that was the happiest post-game show we had on Sunday. Most enthusiastic that I can remember in years.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we got some stuff to talk about. Tonight's show, the Panthers' quest to find a wide receiver one for Bryce Young. He is. Cody, we got to start. And it feels like this. I can't see the show starting without a different topic for a long time for the foreseeable future. Bryce Young is the guy we need to be talking about. And, man, that comes with the quarterback position. But this storyline is incredible.
It really is, man. I mean, we've said it over and over. Watching the journey that he's been on from the start of this season, you know, after being benched after the home opener, which I was at, it was abysmal. And then watching him be able to come back and be able to really redefine the trajectory of his career in the latter half of this 2024 season, I think this will be talked about for a long time to come. And if he continues to build on this, this is going to be quite the start to a legendary story for Bryce. But just to put into context how good Bryce has been, this is from Keep Purring Podcast, Ben. So shout out to him. So Bryce Young, according to PFF, quarterbacks rankings in the last 10 weeks of the season, he was tied for first in big time throws, second in all big time throws, tied for first in big time throw percentage, second in big time throws, tied for third in average depth of target, fourth in deep 20-plus yard passing grade, fifth in overall passing grade, fifth in passing grade under pressure, sixth in offensive grade, and sixth in P2S?
I don't know. Percentage. Good question. Chat will be able to figure what that is.
I have no idea.
I don't know. But pretty damn impressive no matter what, right? Bryce Young has just been incredible. I mean, this has been a part of his turnaround, and there's so many things that we want to attribute it to. But just so that way we're absolutely clear on what Bryce has been doing, this is a percentage of tight window throws and completions made to wide receivers and their average depth of separation that they're getting from the defender. And if you see, Bryce Young is all the way up top here. So what this essentially means is he is completing passes to receivers that don't have a ton of wide separation from their defender, and that Bryce has been thriving. He's at the very top of his class. And in all of quarterbacking, the past 8 weeks, I believe, Bryce Young is third in big time throws amongst all quarterbacks. Dude, this is an incredible resurgence from Bryce Young. One that none of us really saw possible, unless you were a diehard believer like G Baby or Anthony or one of them. But this has been an incredible turnaround. And like we said during the post-game show last Sunday, Tony and CK, this performance and how Bryce has finished this season, this is going to be our breath of life that's going to motivate us and this entire fan base and the organization going into 2025, that we're going to see more of this from Bryce Young as he continues to assert himself as our franchise quarterback and a potential top quarterback in the NFL. CK, Tony, this is pretty impressive.
Yeah, Tony, do you understand this?
The chart?
Yeah.
I can barely see it. I gotta go full screen.
So-
but explain it. How about
basically-
this? Teach me more.
This is basically taking the turnover, the big time throws, and showing them over the turnover worthy throws. Now, this is a little bit different.
Go back.
No, this is the one that CK is talking about.
No,
The
I
one
was going to talk
versus-
about the other one too.
the big time throws. Okay.
Yeah. So this one is basically stating that you're looking at people, quarterbacks, and if you're on the right column, you're taking a lot more big shots down the field, right?
Right.
Now, if you're at the bottom right, you're taking shots that are
risky.
turnover risky. Yeah, very turnover worthy. And if they're not turnovers, you got lucky.
Look at
Right.
Sam Darnold over there.
Yeah, Sam Darnold's down there. Now, if you're in the upper right, it means you're taking the risks and getting the ball down the field, but you're not putting the ball in anybody else's hands but your receivers, more than likely. And so that's what I think is interesting about Bryce Young's development here is when you watch him, he might miss a receiver deep, but he is rarely
He's not throwing punts up.
Yeah, he's not throwing punts. He's throwing the ball where it needs to go to where only his guy is going to get it. And that is why this next chart that Cody's going to go to is so damn impressive. Because when you realize this chart, Bryce Young sits at the very top and to a little bit to the left of this, right? This is such an impressive chart for Bryce Young. This is a chart basically, Tony, that is telling you how many percentage of their passes are in tight windows. And that also is saying how many of those are completed, whether he's throwing them open or he's just giving the guys a chance. But the way that they have it is throw open in tight windows. So essentially they're giving credit to Bryce to throw these guys open with no separation.
And he's head and shoulders above everybody.
Head and shoulders, but that's not necessarily a great thing. It's great that he's getting the ball to these guys, but this is basically highlighting the fact that our weapons are not getting separation. What is different about this year compared to what we were seeing last year is he's throwing the ball to them anyway. And he's getting the ball to them, whether it's back shoulder throws, giving them an opportunity to catch the ball in those circumstances. But for the most part, if you look here, like let's look down here at the bottom right, Patrick Mahomes and CJ Stroud. That being on the right side of this means that your wide receiver, you have some of the best weapons in the NFL because they're just screaming wide open. Like when you're throwing the ball, their windows are wide open. Like that means that a very low percentage of their passes are going into tight coverage. And so I think this highlights that we really do need to have a focus on weapons, or at least some development with the guys that we have to be able to get that separation so that Bryce isn't having to squeeze these balls into tight windows like this.
As we look at all of these, the last three just statistics and visual graphs of these of Bryce Young's performance, to me, the single thing is for 17 games last year, basically, and 2 to start this season. We pull up those passing charts. Completion percentage was never like just a bad problem, right?
Yeah.
It was that there were no throws downfield at all.
It was always checkdowns.
Right. And even the throws that were downfield were like 6 yards downfield or something.
Yeah.
What we're seeing here, and I mean, really just I think the real change in Bryce Young, I mean, we could talk about the fly, like how he's playing with confidence, grip it and rip it, but he's throwing downfield, man, and they're not catching all of them. They're not, but they are.
He's giving them an opportunity.
Yeah, and I mean, and that's where the enthusiasm has come. Is like really what has Bryce, done significantly different, and that is change the game by pushing the stick, by moving the sticks, and getting you downfield faster. You know what I'm saying? Is like if you think about the win against Atlanta last year, I think it was, where we kicked the field goal. It took like 6 minutes to go 40 yards. And we put up 44 points this past week. Bryce Young playing with confidence, keeping his eyes downfield. And I think some of that too, we got to give credit to the offensive line, right, for making this possible. They haven't been flawless. They have not been flawless.
No.
but they have done what the last several years of Panther football was not able to do.
Yeah. No, I think this past week was an interesting one because we were missing Robert Hunt, which was a stalwart on that line. And I don't really feel like our offensive line missed much of a beat. It's abundantly apparent that without Chuba, our run game is heavily stunted.
Yeah.
Even with Miles Sanders having a decent game, being able to catch the ball outside of that.
Boone broke off a couple of tough runs.
Blackshear did as well. But, I mean, it feels like, number one, and it could be that they just weren't willing to go to that well very often. They wanted to put the ball into Bryce Young's hands, which, again, I think that's not a bad thing because what we saw was he was able to just carve up that defense. Now, he didn't go for 300 yards or anything crazy like that, but he did what he was needing to do. And
he got 44, baby.
We scored. When's the last time we did that, right?
November of 2017.
Yeah. I mean, so when you think about how long it's been since we put up that type of points, and it's not even like, even if we were to go back to November of 2017, I would almost argue that I would be surprised if some of those points weren't somehow defensive points. You know what I mean? Like
that probably would have been the North Turner season, right?
Yeah.
And Cam was playing like an MVP in that beginning part until the shoulder got blown up against the Steelers.
Yeah. But I think that there's a lot to be excited about. Here's the thing I'm concerned about is there's a lot of people in Panther Nation. I'm not gonna say a lot. It's a very few minority that seem almost rooting for Bryce Young to not be good. And I'm concerned with that behavior because the best thing, if you're a Panthers fan, that could possibly happen to you and your team is Bryce Young to be the guy. Now, you can have some concerns, but to be rooting for him to be a failure would be it's almost like a masochist. I don't really know why you would be approaching your fandom in a way that's like, I want the worst possible thing for the Panthers to actually happen.
Well, it's a wildly a simple phenomenon in our culture today that's probably linked a lot to social media.
Yeah.
And that is you are looking for verification of your preconceptions. Right. And I just actually watched the Daily Show from yesterday on this, and they were talking about the bombing in New Orleans.
Yeah.
And it was like, instead of us trying to get information and think about what happened, it was like, if you thought of terrorism, then you thought then you were already thinking that and you're expecting it, or you're trying to verify that.
Yeah.
If you think in immigrants, you're thinking whatever it is, a very current contemporary cultural issue. And that is I would say, CK, the people that are in that case believed he was a failure already.
Yeah.
And now they're just rooting for their beliefs to be right rather than something else.
Yeah.
AKA everyone on Panthers Twitter, that's what they think of me. But you know what? That's why I don't pay much attention to them, because people who actually listen to this podcast know what my perspective has always been. I didn't believe in Bryce, but I gave him every opportunity to shut me the fuck up and be the guy. And that is who he is, man. He is playing like he is the guy. Still, I'm not taking anything away from him. But next year is a big year for me. And that third year, I'm not changing my stance. I think that it's a huge year for Bryce. I think that we need to see a continued next step. And I think that we will see it. And that's the difference, because at the end of year one, I really didn't expect much at all from year two, because I never really believed in Bryce like that. He wasn't my preferred quarterback coming out of college. And then after year one, I didn't have much reason to think different, especially after the first two games of the year. But then Bryce came back and elevated his level of play, and then turned everyone on the coaching staff and this fan base and on the team into believers in Bryce Young. And that's all you can ask for, man. I promise you, I would rather watch a good Panthers team than be right about some dumb football takes,
Or what you also are is you're malleable of thought, right? And there's a cool book I read. It was called Think Again. And it was actually talking about how people who are able to change their minds and adjust their beliefs based on new information are have an evolutionary advantage against people who can't, right? And so guess what? is we're rooting for him too. And then as we get now, you go back and check my receipts. As I said at the end of last season, don't chalk up anybody's career to a single season or a single 2 seasons, right? And look, I mean, you can look to Minnesota right now, or to Detroit or to Tampa Bay for examples of why just classifying somebody in a window of time for a timeline or whatever your timeline is leaves a lot to be desired. So Bryce Young did everything. It wasn't necessarily the way I hoped would happen this season. No. Right. I didn't want him to be. I wanted this to be from week 1 incrementally better to where the Panthers by this time were going from competitive to maybe even winning games. This was a roller coaster way of Bryce Young to achieve what I hoped. And that is that you going into year 3, you don't feel that the quarterback is the concern at the moment. And, Dan Morgan, we're going to talk about his press conference in a little while, but Dan Morgan may reference 2 things about this offseason, almost a weight off his shoulder and a luxury, and that is we're not looking for coaches right now, so we can hunker down and spend more time on free agency in the draft. And the idea of not being concerned at this current moment about addressing the quarterback situation, that allows you to allocate your time in ways that the management, the administrative part of this team, they've got their work cut out for them still. So thank God we're not sitting here trying to have to juggle those along with the other 40 other player position groups that we have to juggle going to this offseason. So kudos to Bryce. Really, like you said over and over, Cody, is that if this continues to pan out, right, what a story. What a lore, right? The lore of could you just stamp? He needs to get a keep pounding tattoo, bro.
The lore of the most controversial player in the history of the Carolina Panthers.
And what did he do? He kept pounding. He
kept pounding. Yeah. I love it, dude. He's an embodiment of keep pounding. Hey, shout out to Tony Gibson, another embodiment of keep pounding, dropping a $5 C3 bomb. Says franchise quarterback doesn't mean top 5 or even top 10. Just means we're not looking for a quarterback for years. Yeah. Be happy. And I put a poll in the chat. Thank you so much, Tony. I put a poll in the chat. Has Bryce Young proven himself to be the franchise quarterback of the Carolina Panthers? To you, absolutely. No, need to see more. Or Bryce isn't it. And, dude, how about we're at 85% say absolutely, 15% say no, need to see more. No one in the chat has yet to say that Bryce isn't it. And that's funny, Tony, because, listen, we're not really receipt type of people. But I remember when Bryce was doing bad, and I was putting up other polls in the chat on if we would ever see Bryce again or if Bryce was officially a bust. It was pretty much unanimous at that point in time. So, Panther Nation, C3 Legion, let's keep it a buck. Bryce Young has won over a lot of people. How about this? Bryce Young was so bad that he lost a lot of supporters. There were people that believed in Bryce who said, damn, dude, maybe I was wrong. Maybe Bryce doesn't have what it takes to be the franchise quarterback of the Panthers.
I mean,
and then he turned them around. So
so here's the thing. When you look at that exact situation, you know how difficult it is for you to be somebody who is a proponent of somebody. I'll be the first to tell you, I was the believer of Bryce all of last year, of 2023. And 2024 came, I saw it in person, and my tune changed. Like I couldn't, there was no spark that made me feel confident in what this guy was able to do. Can I tell you the emotional roller coaster you go on from being such a staunch defender of Bryce Young for one season when there's so many things going wrong and all the excuses you give Bryce Young for that first year, which are valid excuses, are relatively fixed the following year, this past year in 2024. And then that first 2 games to have it go the way that it did, there was nothing you could grab a hold of as a Panthers fan to be able to defend Bryce over those first 2 games. And so that roller coaster of that, like, it's when you have trust for somebody, you lose that trust. You know how hard it is to get that trust back in a relationship? Like, I feel like it's harder. It would be easier to win over the people that were people who didn't like Bryce from the get-go than it would be the people who were defenders of him, who had to basically say, I was wrong, for them to be able to even come back out of the closet and say, maybe I was right to begin with. I don't want to be wrong again. So I don't want to be like on his side anymore. But like, at this point in time, man, I'm just excited. The dude's playing with some confidence. I'm just glad that this team seems to have some cohesion, that they want to be here. There's so many players on this team that would love to come back because they feel like we're building something. And I don't know that we've had a feeling like this since Cam was here. Like, I know there's been moments where we felt like we were a piece of 2 away, like we were a quarterback away, but I don't know that we have felt like people wanted to come to Carolina or that wanted to even talk about us. And here we are, Garrett Wilson talking about Cam Newton, Micah Parsons talking about, or not Cam Newton, Bryce Young, Micah Parsons talking about the Panthers being a contending team over the next year in his eyes. We're a destination, and I think Dave Canales has a tremendous amount of credibility and credit that needs to be given to him, along with Dan Morgan. I think these guys have done great.
There's 2 lands. There are 2 lands that a football team can live in and a fan base can live in. It's the land of having a quarterback you think is your quarterback, having a quarterback, and then the scariest of all lands, a land without a quarterback. And we lived in a world of a land without a quarterback, arguably until 6 weeks ago, or maybe, even though you drafted a quarterback, you did not know if that person would guide you to the land of having a quarterback. And that's what this is, CK, the feeling of we live in the land now we can look to other things. And that's like, that's why they say it's the most important position. That's why teams try to build around it, because until that's settled, regardless of how great you are in the other case, it's very hard to win with a quarterback that is mediocre at best or that you don't truly believe in.
Yeah, I agree.
Let's keep rocking, bro.
And
Let's
just
keep rocking.
to add a little more context to how good this offensive has been over the last 4 weeks, only 2 teams have scored more touchdowns than the Carolina Panthers. That would be the Lions and the Ravens, maybe the best team in both the AFC and NFC. The Panthers have 15 touchdowns in that stretch, man.
Hold on.
So
go to that list one more time.
Yeah.
I want you to look at that list and look at how many of those teams are playoff teams.
The Bills. Let's go through them. So we're ahead of the Bills, the Buccaneers.
We're tied with the Bills.
Start this. The first 3, the Lions, Ravens, and Bill. I mean, every team on this, right? So who we're ahead of.
Yeah.
So Lions and Ravens are
tied with us,
playoff teams. But then there's the Panthers, and then now let's go through the list.
So do we have the Buffalo Bills? We're tied with Buffalo.
Playoff
team.
We're tied with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Playoff
team. We have more than the Broncos at 14, playoff team. More than the Commanders, playoff team at 14. More than the Chargers, 13. That's the playoff team. Cardinals, not a playoff team, but more than them, 12. Packers.
Eagles.
Eagles. I missed the Eagles. Eagles are a playoff team at 12. Packers, they are a playoff team.
Yeah,
12
Bengals
touchdowns.
were we're very close to it.
I was pulling for them so bad, dude.
But you knew
the Broncos made the playoffs.
Yeah, the Broncos made the playoffs because the Chiefs sat all of their starters,
right?
And the Chiefs
that's what kept the Bengals out.
Yeah, that's what kept the Bengals out. I think that was a double-edged sword for them. They were resting their starters, and I think they were keeping Joe Burrow out of the postseason. I don't think they wanted that. They let the Broncos curb stomp them.
Yeah.
Yeah, they didn't
even play their practice squad players. They played like the Panthers practice squad players.
Dude, they were like 39-0, dude. Like, they didn't even score a point. That's wild.
So listen, man, let's jump into the heart of what tonight's show is all about, because this has been the buzz that's been going around, boys. So let's talk about it. Let's have this discussion, the C3 style, baby. Listen, this is a very controversial account because they've posted some BS before, but they've also been right about some things before. So this is from NFL notifications on X. Panthers are expected to go all in for a wide receiver one this offseason. Two names that make sense are Garrett Wilson and T. Higgins. And we'll kind of go back and forth on the pluses and minuses of both of them. But one of the reasons why Garrett Wilson has been highlighted and spotlighted here. So a guy on Panthers Twitter who goes by Just Bland, he put out a clip yesterday. It says he might be better than we thought. And it's 7 minutes of Bryce Young just throwing darts all over the field, right? So then Garrett Wilson comments underneath the post and says he is. So Bryce Young gets a cosign from a dynamic, talented, young wide receiver. And now Panther fans are salivating, foaming at the mouth. Mike K did come in and sort of bring people down to earth a little bit, though. He said that Garrett Wilson isn't even 25 years old yet and has 2 years of club control coming off a 1,110 yard and 7 touchdown season. There is no reason for the Jets to trade him, whether he has interest or not. If the new Jets GM takes less than the top 10 pick and then some in any hypothetical trade, that person should be fired before they even get to the draft. And then Vashti Hurt, Carolina Blitz, comments and says that guys don't tweet by accident. So going a little bit deeper on this is from an article from Sports Illustrated. It says, to be clear, one player praising or defending another isn't inherently eyebrow raising. That happens all the time. But in this case, the replies both on X and Reddit are full of fans wondering if this could mean Wilson is eyeing the Panthers amid talks of unhappiness with the Jets. Wilson has been respectfully vocal about his struggles in New York this past season, when his team's offense blew a number of fourth quarter leads for a disappointing 5-12 record. Both his head coach and GM were canned in high-profile firings. An embarrassing report of systematic disorganization suggested his team's owner's decision-making was influenced by the latter's teenage son. Not exactly a winning environment. Just last week, Wilson said there was no truth to rumors suggesting he might not return to the Green Gang in 2025 if Aaron Rodgers is still under center. Still, though, many inside the organization have wondered when Wilson will request a trade, not if, the Athletic's Zach Rosenblatt posted in December. Based on the above information, could he be eyeing the Panthers next, or is he just giving Young some well-deserved flowers? The latter is more likely, but hey, gotta consider all opinions. So, boys, my question to all of you is right now, and then we'll open it up broadly to everyone else. Would you be willing to trade potentially the 8th overall pick for Garrett Wilson?
Not 1 for 1 personally. I wouldn't go 8th overall. And I would go 8th overall, Garrett Wilson, and we get their 2nd round pick.
No, they're not going to do that.
I know, but here's the thing is that is the issue you run into with a guy like that is I'm not a proponent of trading for a guy you're then going to have to turn around and pay again. I like his who he is as a wide receiver, but I don't personally believe he's a top 5 wide receiver in the NFL.
He's good, bro.
He's good. Don't get me wrong. I'm saying he's not a Justin Jefferson or a Jamar Chase. And I'm not saying that there's anybody in the draft
might be, though. He's just been
I don't know that he's not.
The team.
He's one of those types of guys that is a super shifty separator. The type of guy that's going to easily be able to make separation in a way that I feel like Adam Thielen and Xavier Leggett aren't. Now, of course, right now is not comparable to those dudes that you mentioned, obviously. But I don't think it's strange to say that he has that type of potential in him if given the right environment. I saw some people saying, hey, give a first round in 2026 and like a fourth round this year or something.
We have too many holes to give up picks.
Yeah, but we have
I wouldn't
a
be
lot
opposed
of
to
picks.
that.
Look, CK brings up a great, I guess, the real point when thinking about this. This isn't just trading a first round pick for a player. It's trading a first round pick without having the luxury of getting the longevity of the
fifth year option, 5 years of the rookie contract.
Yeah, because we know what happens when you get in the year 3 and 4 of a good player, right? You're already, but at the same time, I think that in one way, I think about this is that if you are willing to pick a wide receiver in the top 10, trading a top 10 for a guy that is a more proven commodity but still young seems attractive. I could see something like this. I'd be interested in the Panthers giving a 1 and a 3 for Garrett Wilson and a 2.
Yeah. No, I mean, I like the idea of adding an elite wide receiver. Don't get me wrong. I would say let's do that if that was our problem with our team right now.
Yeah, that's a great point.
It's not. Like, I know it's really enticing and it's going to be incredibly intriguing to go after one of these guys. But if it means you're going to remove your ability to actually build this defense the way it needs to be built, it's all for naught. I mean, let's go back to that chart we just read about how many touchdowns we've scored over the past 4 weeks. How many of those were wins? Like how many of those were blowouts because our defense couldn't stop anything? How many of those had to be perfect? Because I'll tell you what, it had to be perfect with the Cardinals, and it had to be perfect with this offense playing against the Falcons, and because our defense couldn't stop a nosebleed, and they haven't been able to do that all year. If your focus is let's give up draft capital for a guy that is going to then have to turn around and be paid, that's going to impact our ability to actually get free agents moving forward, I don't think that. So not only are you limiting your ability to get free agents, you're limiting the amount of talent you're able to get in the draft. So you're really handcuffing your defense and hoping that you guys can get some diamonds in the rough in the 5th and 6th round. I personally am not a big fan of that idea. I love the idea of having a guy like that on my team. I just don't think that there's a realistic outcome that would make the Panthers better in the long term.
So, but then that bears, that's why I put T. Higgins up here too. If you're going to go in the free agent route and getting a wide receiver and not choose to go in the draft to get another wide receiver, if you want a proven talent, then would you say, who would you guys say is more worth it? Would you rather go after T. Higgins, or did you think Garrett Wilson is the differentiating type of wide receiver that the Carolina Panthers offense needs? And by the way, you don't have to trade for T. Higgins. You're probably going to have to pay him, though. Whereas if you trade for Garrett Wilson, you're not going to necessarily have to pay him right now, seeing as how he does have, I believe, another 2 years on his contract. I believe it's 2 years. Don't quote me on that. Maybe CK could look it up. But you're not going to have to trade draft capital, which is going to be very expensive, to go and get Garrett Wilson. So does that change the way that you sort of view one prospect or the other? And there's a third that we're going to get to here in a second as well. But
there's one thing. There's also one other thing to think about, and that is, while Mike K says anybody who wouldn't give a top 10 pick for Garrett Wilson is out of their mind, how many times did we talk about players that were trading and we thought that they deserve so much more value than they really got?
Yeah.
Right. So does this mean, if the Jets are really kind of fashioning and you got a player that really doesn't want to be there in that process, they're also not probably going to be interested in paying him right out the gate. So maybe that trade of a first or a high first is the best case scenario and for the Jets, but maybe not the only scenario that it could happen. I personally like Garrett Wilson. I think like the youth and and he brings a kind of excitement factor that you know T. Higgins. Sure. I'm just tired of hearing T. Higgins' name in so many cases.
T. Higgins is so hot and cold too. Like he'll have really good games, but then there's games he just doesn't exist on that offense. And I guess it's hard when you're in the shadow of Jamar Chase. But I mean, here's the thing. I think T. Higgins is going to be cheaper than any extension we would have to get to Garrett Wilson. Not only from a draft aspect of things, but from the amount of money that he's going to garner for a contract. I personally think that Mike K's belief that anybody who takes less than a 10 overall pick for Garrett Wilson, that person should be fired if they're in the Jets organization. I don't really think that Garrett Wilson has the pedigree in his career so far to be able to say with certainty the Jets would only be willing to accept a top 10 pick.
I agree.
Now, if they are only willing to accept a top 10 pick, it's because they internally love the guy so much that they're not willing to let him go. It's sort of like the way I would look at it is I had tickets to go see Creed with me and Tony at training camp. Now, for about 6 months prior to me having those tickets, I put them up on market and resell, priced for a point that would be like, you're going to have to buy me out of this, dude. You're going to have to make me want to give you these tickets because I want to go to this concert bad enough to where you're going to have to overpay for them if you really want them. That's how much. And I think that's the only reason that I think a team should be willing to pay a top 10 pick for Garrett Wilson, because if you're talking about Justin Jefferson, that's a different story, right? You're talking about Jamar Chase, that's a different story. But you're talking about a guy who's got 3 years and he's had some really good plays. Don't get me wrong, but he doesn't have the pedigree that goes along with a top 10 pick that is a guarantee, especially on top of the fact that he's going to have a big contract coming due soon.
Well, keep in mind that he has back-to-back seasons of 1,000 receiving yards, talking about Garrett Wilson. You also mentioned T. Higgins, who runs hot and cold. Yet he has had multiple seasons of more than 10 touchdowns and more than 1,000 receiving yards. So, again, it's just weighing like, if you believe this rumor, and that's something else that we need to discuss, how much we even believe it, that they really want to go in on getting another wide receiver as opposed to just continuing to build upon what they have or go the draft route. But these wide receivers are who we have available right now. And do you even believe that this is going to be a real priority for us? Now, I personally do think so. And the reason why I do think so is, you look at somebody like Josh Allen, who in year 3, they went and traded for Stephon Diggs.
Yeah.
And look at how incredible that was for Josh Allen, going out and getting him a legitimate number 1 wide receiver. That was a really important part of Josh Allen's growth process. And I wanted to put this up. I saw a Panther gal in here. She says, just say no to drama queens. And look, I understand that diva wide receiver mentality can be a little bit much. They can be a little bit extra. But boy, when they're good, when you have that one guy that just can't be stopped by anyone that you put in front of them, that's a game changer. And, judging as how Garrett Wilson is such a fan of Bryce Young and his game, it seems as though that would be the type of person that Bryce Young and everyone on the offense would really be able to get behind. So I don't know, man. I think that when you're looking at these guys, you're betting on the future and what they're going to be able to do for you. And personally, I'm kind of okay with most of these guys. I think some of them are more likely than others. I think T. Higgins, just because you're not having to give up a lot of draft capital, is probably going to be the most likely of these receivers that we're talking about. But overall, man, like, there are some good opportunities for us to make a legitimate upgrade to this wide receiver room. And I'm not really mad at any of them.
Yeah, I will tell you that Stephon Diggs is probably the best example of what would be the compensation that somebody should be willing to give up for Garrett Wilson. And that was a first round, a fifth, a sixth, and like a fourth or something like that. It was like 4 picks, but it was the 22nd overall pick in the draft. And so along with the assortment of picks. So I think that's probably on par with more of what Garrett Wilson would garner than, just say a top 10 pick. I'm not saying it's not possible. I just don't. I think that the only reason somebody's paying top 10 is because the Jets won't accept anything less than that.
Yeah, guys, playoff football is here this weekend. And if you want to make some money, you need to go to UnderdogFantasy.com or download the Underdog app to get in on this playoff football. Which players are going to go off? Which ones are going to go cold? You, with over 500 million happy players who have won $2 billion or more, can do it on Underdog and have some fun playing daily fantasy football. And Underdog makes it fun and easy for you to cash in on all your favorite athletes' performances. Here's some of the picks going into this weekend currently. We've got the Chargers and Houston. We're going to be playing in Houston. The Chargers are going there. Ladd McConkey, will he have a touchdown? Will he get over 0.5 rushing or receiving touchdowns? Will he get 70.5 rushing or receiving yards? You go higher or lower, you can win your money or even more than your money that you put in. Justin Herbert, 227 passing yards, higher or lower. Joe Mixon, 70.5 rushing yards, higher or lower. I like this number. CJ Stroud, Houston is taking on the Los Angeles Chargers, 231.5 passing yards. There's some value there. But if you think of that, look at that. Is this going to be a running defensive matchup? You can parlay some of these or play some of these picks together. The more picks you make, the more you get, the more money you make. J.K. Dobbins looking good with 60.5 rushing yards. That's the one I like right there. Go higher on that. That's what I'm thinking. They've got a lot of cool bonuses. You can do a pick and roll bonus tonight for the NBA and get up to 20% boost on your points. If you're interested in playing daily fantasy sports, you need to go to Underdog. Download that app, right? It's the best place to play Pick'em. Download the app, sign up with the promo code C3P, and deposit now to get up to $1,000 in bonus cash instantly. That's promo code C3. One more time, promo code C3. Deposit now and get up to $1,000 in bonus cash on Underdog. You must be 18 years or older, 19 years or older in Alabama and Nebraska, 19 years or older in Colorado for some games, 21 years or older in Massachusetts and Arizona, and present in the state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Void in Colorado for some games. Concerned with your play? 1-800 call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org. In Arizona, call 1-800 Next Step or text Next Step to 53342. New York, call the 24/7 Hope line at 1-8778-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. That's 467-369. Cody, they're here with us through the playoffs.
Yeah, man, dude, that's the best way to support the pod. Go to Underdog, use code C3P. Man, we appreciate them, and we appreciate y'all helping us grow the pod. So I put up in the chat the three options that we have between trading for Garrett Wilson, going to sign T. Higgins, or how about Tyreek Hill? And this is funny to me because if you remember, I've said this for a long time, my comparison for Bryce Young of what I thought his ceiling was a Tua Tagovailoa. Now, Tyreek Hill, say whatever you want about this dude, he is the man. Like, this is the fastest wide receiver in the NFL, and what he was able to do for a quarterback like Tua Tagovailoa was just incredible, man. So, again, not necessarily a one-for-one comparison, but so Tyreek Hill, he went on to his X profile and photoshopped his face on Antonio Brown running out of the stadium, chucking up the deuces. But this is Tyreek Hill on his future with the Miami Dolphins.
This is my first time. I haven't been in the playoffs, man. So, I mean, for me, like I said, man, I just got to do what's best for me and my family, dog. If that's here, if that's wherever the case may be, man, I'm finna open that door for myself, dog. As I'm opening the door, like I'm out, bro. You know, so it was great playing here, but
I mean, you thinking about leaving here?
If it is, hey,
Bro, he got 1 foot out the door, and we know how fast he is. This guy's so fast, he could cut the light switch off and be in bed before the lights go out.
He's
That's
the man,
Joe
dude.
Riolano line right there. Rest in peace, Joe. Miss you, brother.
Yeah. So listen, he's just signed a very expensive extension with the Miami Dolphins. So if you did this, you're paying a ton of money. That alone kind of makes it sort of wild, but I figured that it was worth mentioning since he was a player that helped to attack Vailoa turn around his game. He seems upset, man. He doesn't want to be a part of a team that isn't competing for playoffs. And like you said,
I don't know if Carolina makes you the prime destination right there.
Yeah. I don't think that we would want to be his number one destination. But I mean, again, we're talking about trades here. If he doesn't want to be in Miami, you know, he's going to have to be traded to wherever they're going to get something for him. So,
and that's the thing is his value is going to be diminished because they have the choice right now based on the behavior. Number one, based on the way that Mike McDaniels was handled the post-game press conference, stating that he had no idea that Tyreek Hill, he just was informed that he had pulled himself out of the game due to an injury. It sounded like he was very much out on Tyreek Hill in that behavior. My only concern with the Tyreek Hill is the distraction that would bring to a team that's trying to become cohesive, right? They're starting to try to build a culture where these guys are playing for one another. And I dare not, assume the worst about anybody, but you get the feeling that a guy like Tyreek Hill doesn't necessarily play for his teammates. And so it's evident based on the fact that, how he handled just that entire interaction just now. Like they were losing, they didn't make it to the playoffs, and his first reaction in a post-season press conference was to say, "Man, I'm out. You know what I mean? Like that's not a guy that I think that's worth building a team around.
So I'll go back to what the conversation that me and Tony were having. I think it was last Tuesday, and Tony, you brought up how I reminded you that like I'm done with the Boy Scouts. You know what I mean? Like I'm done with the goody two shoes culture guy that you would bring home, that you would take your daughter on a date, like, dude, I want
the girl you bring to introduce mama.
Yeah, dude, listen, look, call me wild. We need some edge on this team, man. We really do. And listen, I know, like I said to Panther Cow earlier, I know not everybody loves the diva attitude and mentality. But the simple fact of the matter is, a lot of those dudes have that mentality because they are the man. They are the guy.
Having that mentality, you have to have it to be the man. How many times have we talked about, is there enough dog in this? You talked about the leadership of Bryce, and really you saw it now that he's doing, look, we were excited not by his game only, but his demeanor as he is throwing dimes and shooting downfield or throwing up the Steph Curry stuff, right? Is that now, and CK's right, though, is that as you're trying to incrementally build, we're not one player away necessarily from, is that, do you want somebody that's going to help strengthen you over the long term, or are you looking for that dog of dogs? But now you go back to some position. It almost comes with the position group, right? Is that you want to have the quarterback that says all the right things, but has self-confidence. You want an offensive line, or you want certain players that are just like, we're team guys, but it always seems like wide receivers and cornerbacks have to be the greats of the past, have been those dudes that have that, whether it comes from Dion on the outside to Michael Irvin to Randy Moss. And my bastard son's pointing that up the thing is Tyreek's not done, right? Like, I mean, how long has his career got to go? The question is he the right fit, like CK said, for us? And are we the right fit for him? And Diggs I think really, like, whether it be Garrett Wilson, whether it be Tyreek Hill or all these, that Diggs to Buffalo situation is always going to be close to our hearts. And one that we really accredited to Brandon Beane's time in Carolina, seeing what happens when you've got a quarterback who is like ready to become the guy, right? But you're asking him to do it with Jags, just another guy, right? And I felt like the reason they went after Stephon Diggs in what was a very aggressive and rich trade with a guy that had a contract who was vocally disgruntled at that time was going back to, like, we saw what happened, what would have Cam been if you got him the weapons, and you know, how does it change the trajectory?
It represents not repeating the sins of the past. Learn as an organization. And listen, that year 3, that was huge for Cam Newton. That was absolutely huge for him. 11 was his rookie year. 12 was his second year, disappointing defense. And then that third year, we got that incredible defense in 2013 that we still have memories of. We were talking about the other day. So imagine if you were able to put that defense and get out another number 1 wide receiver. Dude, I think that would be awesome. And listen, yes, I'm a T. Higgins fan. He went to Clemson. But, dude, I'm telling you, it's more than that. He is an elite catcher of the football. He drops nothing. He's a great separator. He knows how to leverage his body and use his strength. He knows how to box out. The dude's incredible, man. He is what you would like to see. And by the way, shout out to D and Street. He's a Bengals fan in the chat room. We appreciate you, bro. And he says that they're not losing T. Higgins. So if you really, but that's what they say. They want to pay him. They also have to pay Jamar Chase. They have a lot of people that they're going to have to pay. But it does, it bears repeating that Bengals fans, even though they have a Jamar Chase, they are not interested in losing T. Higgins.
All right.
So let the fan base tell you about what kind of player he is.
Without thinking about who is plausible and who is the most possible, or like the most, that could happen, is which of these 3 would you want?
Without taking into account the plausibility, it would be Garrett
just say this: is you just had the choice of 3, and we don't care about the cost. We're not that, and you could get them. Which of the 3 do you want for the next, whatever? Just name the name.
Wilson, and I don't think it's close.
Yeah, same here. Tyreek, though, I will say this: Tyreek Hill, I like that. That bug is awesome. He's fun to watch.
He's entertaining, to say the least. Like, I agree with that. But Cody, I have no problem with dogs whatsoever. Like, you let these guys who want to trash talk on the field all day, every day. What I don't want in a team that's building like this is I don't want the guy that's going to be mad at Bryce because he threw the ball to somebody else. And that seems like what you're getting out of a Tyreek Hill. I think that's a distraction that you don't want for a quarterback that's just now getting his mojo. You don't want a guy who's going to come in here and overpower this team. That's the reason that Cam Newton and Steve Smith, that's the whole thing that we all believe as why Steve Smith was not on this team, is because you need to allow this quarterback to take ownership of this team, and having a Tyreek Hill will be a very loud voice in an already quiet room. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Dude, I agree. Can we agree that Garrett Wilson wouldn't be as toxic as a Tyreek Hill if we're talking
not
about?
Even close.
Yeah, to me, Garrett Wilson seems like a very cool, upstanding young man. I think he's cool.
And he hasn't at the same time. Look, his Tyreek ain't wrong, right? He's never missed the playoffs, right? Now it is kind of concerning that 1 year of missing the playoffs, and he's like, "What the fuck is going on with this team?" I mean, that is kind of crazy, that 1 year of adversity. And he's like, I mean, he expects to be the top in the league all the time. You know what? He wants more money, dude. You got to think not more money, but these guys, and it's smart. And what he's saying is it's the problem is he's probably been a little too honest in that press conference right there. And that when he says we got to do what's best for me and my family, and that is not only our guys, I mean, this is the best. Tyreek Hill has the opportunity to have the best possible scenario of what an NFL player can have, and that is to sign 3 big contracts.
Yeah.
That would be cool. He is under that 1 contract now, so they'd be trading for it. But
yeah, but I mean, I think he got a contract as soon as he got the Dolphins. I think they reworked it and had more money added to it. So in a way, I think of that as 2 contracts right there. And then he's looking for a third big payday. And then after that, being able to do some 2-year deals in the late parts of his career. He's got to cash in now. And particularly with his skill set, right? I mean, think about this. A player with his type of skill set who's not a big body receiver, who doesn't have the height of a Randy Moss, but really relies on just on such elite speed and shiftiness. And I mean, he is a good rate. He does a lot of other things than just being fast, right? But, there's a point where he's not going to be the cheetah anymore.
Yeah.
And,
I mean, that's natural. That time is undefeated.
Right. And so a player, though, that has physical stats, physical skill set that can adapt over time because they're big and they can go from a all around deep threat, every down receiver and all of that, they do need to turn into possession receivers. And that's going to be more difficult for a guy with his physical stature.
Yeah.
Right.
Larry Fitzgerald is a prime example of somebody who was able to adapt to aging, an aging body and his speed not being where it needs to be or what have you.
Yeah, man.
But here's the thing. I think the chat is dictating this next thing, and we need to talk about, Cody.
Well, so here's what I was going to ask. Y'all want to talk Evero now, or y'all want to take some cat calls?
All right. How about this? Let's take a couple of calls with the idea that we're going to Evero. If we run into a call in the first few that talk about Evero, we'll just weave it in at that point.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. And by the way, man, listen, 121 people watching. Hit that like, hit that subscribe, hit that notification bell for every single time the C3 Panthers podcast goes live. This show is nothing if not for the C3 Legion that makes it run. Let's hear what y'all say. Leave a message at 252-228-5098. Tony Dunn, Cortez Allen, let's roll.
So what are your thoughts on catcalling?
Yeah, it's pretty. You shouldn't do that to somebody.
And how did that make you feel?
Very uncomfortable.
So how do you think catcalling makes the person feel?
It feels good, like.
Who's that cat sitting in the back corner with his face buried in his notebook? Who's that kid that can use one?
CK, Tony Dunn, Cody Lack, C3 Nation. What's going on, boys? It's the Hope Dealer checking in real quick. Hey,
what's up, brother?
I'll have your most delectable order of delicious black crow. And please top it off with some Bryce Young Carolina Reaper sauce, baby, because I was wrong. You know what, though, y'all? I've never been so happy to be wrong after our win on Sunday. We still got the number 8 pick in the draft as of right now. And the great thing is, man, now that we know we got our quarterback, at least for next year, we can focus on building this defense. I did have a question for y'all, though. I was wondering, out of pure necessity, since Miles Sanders is under contract with Brooks being hurt, do y'all think we should bring Miles back one more year? Maybe not to be the primary running back. We know we got Chuba, but maybe try making Miles more of like a gadget player. What are y'all thoughts on that as far as from Canales? So as far as the defense, look, we broke the record for the most points allowed, and gave up over 3,000 rushing yards. Say it with me, y'all. Evero, gotta go. Say Evero, gotta go. But one thing's for sure, this offense in week 1, man, it went from Snorefest to Scorefest, baby. From week 1 to the last week, from Snorefest to Scorefest. Hey, once again, man, this is the Hope Dealer. Love y'all, C3 Legion. I'm out, man. Keep pounding.
Hope Dealer, keep pounding. We love you, brother. Yeah, we talked about this a little bit last Sunday, boys. Now, after the injury of Jonathan Brooks, it really changes the entire way that you look at Miles Sanders. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Now, especially knowing that you have him under contract for another 2 years and listening to him give an interview saying that he doesn't anticipate being anywhere else and he still wants to play ball. Yeah, man, I kind of think our backfield for the foreseeable future right now is Chuba Hubbard and Miles Sanders.
Yeah.
And listen, he was hurt some of last year. He didn't have a lot of didn't show a lot this year. Had that touchdown against Atlanta, but again, he does have that 1,000-yard rushing season with the Philadelphia Eagles. So maybe if he gets back to being healthy and continues to fit himself into this offense with us running the ball better, yeah, maybe that is a scenario for Miles Sanders to become a bigger part of this offense. All right, y'all want to take another one?
He did talk about
you're
one piece.
muted, Tony. You're muted. I don't know if you know.
It took one call to get that. Yeah, you're
Yeah,
still muted.
I mean, I think this, as we said, once we got a call about Evero, we'll bring it up. How about this? Is we'll do a short 20 seconds on it, and then we'll get back into the calls because I'm sure more people.
We need to do a big thing on it. I say it's a whole thing because we really need to break it down. So let's take like 3 or 4, and
it's going to be a topic.
On
calls.
There's no way it is. We're going to talk about it.
Hey y'all, Steve from Richmond County. It's only my 4th call. Been here since 2016.
What's up, Steve?
You know, I'm a better listener than I am a caller. So, but I did want to put my 2 cents in on the awards. I think it should be called the Keep Pounding Awards. I know, a lot of people are like, oh, Keep Pounding has been around, but yeah, that's why it's been around, because that's who we are, man. And on a daily, as we go through life and just I'm such a better listener. Anyway, no question we do this.
All right. Look, is that I love to hear this. Is first, thanks for being with the podcast for so long, man. You're a great caller already. Keep calling in if you'd like. Listen, if any amount of time and energy you give to this podcast or to us in this community, man, we appreciate greatly. Keep Pounding Award could be like, look, let's keep taking this suggestion. We got plenty of time until the 2025 season to continue to adopt this. And if you know Tony, I won't relinquish the old names. It will be the Keep Pounding, a.k.a. Dab on them, a.k.a. the Vidato Award, maybe. We'll keep doing those things. But, man, we appreciate that. And, guys, we also appreciate Stonewall with the C3 bomb of $4.99, who, besides me, would get a Keep Pounding tattoo when Bryce wins our first Super Bowl. You know what? I'm not adverse to this. I don't know if I'll go straight Panther logo or something. Maybe I could work it into another tattoo, have something in there. Not adverse to the idea of a Super Bowl tattoo.
Boys, I kind of think at some point we just need to get C3 tatted and let
There you go. There you go. How about that?
You need to get somebody to design a C3 with Bryce Young in the C3 logo.
Or I might just get the C3 logo, dude.
That's what I'm saying, dude. Yeah, fuck it. I'll rock that shit. Steven comes back for one more call.
My bad, guys. Steve from Richmond County. I'm a better listener than I am a caller. So the Keep Pounding Awards, I say, let's give it to the C3 Nation. Everybody from Tony, CK, Cody, and, I can't sit here and call everybody's names like, D from Stanford does when he calls in, but we'll just do a breakdown of ages. So we'll go from Noah to Pickle and actually cover everybody because, Pickle, he sounds like he's, 60, 78, 90 years, whatever, however old he is. If you're older, call in and sound older than Pickle, but I don't think there's anybody else out there. But to all y'all, and if you haven't listened to the post game the other night, man, absolutely fantastic. What a great way to end the season. Every caller brought it. All the All-Stars called in. I mean, I would love to hear name names, but I'm just a terrible caller, man. But anyway.
No, you're not.
Keep Pounding Award, C3 Panther Nation, all y'all, always in my heart, man. Thank y'all so much. Keep pounding.
Thank you, brother.
I don't know. Chuck from Elizabeth City might have Pickle on that.
Yeah, nah. I don't know, but you know why that's a great call to me? He's automatically a great caller. He's a listener, and what I mean by that is you talk about this guy isn't just mention the podcast. He knows the podcast. He's part of the podcast. He knows
the boys. Yeah. He knows us, and you know what we take pride in? We take pride in helping people overcome any shyness they might have. Oh, bro, this is the place for you, man. You might be shy right now, but Steven, give it just a little while. Bro, you'll be flying through them catcalls, bro.
You'll be taking on G Baby head on.
Yeah, bro. Hey, brother, this is the place for you. C3 is for everybody, every Panther fan, and I mean absolutely everybody. Let's go to our boy Anthony from Charlotte.
Yo, what's up, C3? It's Anthony from Charlotte. Hope y'all boys are having a good Tuesday, man. Just wanted to call in and talk about our Carolina Panthers. We're kind of in that time period. We're not in the playoffs. It stinks, but we regroup as fans. I've kind of been taking a couple days to kind of take it all in this season, been listening to a lot of different people, just Panthers fans' opinions on the season and, what we got to do going forward. I think this is going to be a very interesting offseason. I'm really happy, man. I really am, for my boy Bryce Young. I've stood by him, I fought for him, and I've criticized him at the same time. But with all that said, I'm happy he's our quarterback, and I do feel like we have reached a destination where we are off the boat and we are headed out of the marsh, and we can see the daylight at the end of that tunnel of the land with a quarterback. It feels like we are entering that position. It feels good. Don't take it for granted. We've been through hell and back, man. Our dedicated fans, we deserve this. 7 years, but this is an off season where you have the coach under attack, coach and GM intact. You have young players that showed promise. You have a promising quarterback. You've got some things to build here. You've got the offensive line. A big offseason ahead, but Dan Morgan reinforced his faith in Bryce Young and the Peppers as well. Dave Canales did, and Dan Morgan said he was never trading him was not an option. I honestly, Dan Morgan, I got to give him credit this season. He was, Canales too, but he was put in a tough position with the roster, the holes, the tough decisions to make. Was it Brian Burns or the offensive line, this or that? There was a lot of tough decisions to make. He's a man by saying, hey, Evero, in so many words, our defense was ass, but I got to put better talent on the field, and he's right, But you couldn't fix everything in one offseason. Panthers fans, let's stay patient. There'll be, draft. I trust that we'll be able to get one of the best defensive players or take the best player available. I trust Dan Morgan. And let's be honest, guys. It sure does feel good to have a top end elite receiver in Garrett Wilson talk about your quarterback,
Yep.
Endorsing him. Let's get Garrett Wilson to Charlotte. Anthony from Charlotte, keep motherfucking pounding, boys.
Let's go. Shout out to Anthony from Charlotte.
Can we go back to the tattoo thing real quick?
Yeah, dude. C3 tattoos.
My boy Muscles, my paisan, he said I'll get C3 tatted on my butt cheek. Now,
yeah.
All right, my question to you.
But then he has to come on the stream live and drop trial and prove it.
No, what is all right? So is that the first thought that comes to what is the first thought of a C3 butt cheek tattoo that goes through your mind? I have two that came to my mind.
Well, from a particular butt cheek?
Or no, I would say this because I was like, I'll do that because here is I would love to imagine Muscles, we go to the game, to an Atlanta Falcons game, and we moon Atlanta Falcons fans with that. The second thought that came to my mind is you better get a C3 logo tattoo because keep pounding on your butt cheeks is not the tattoo.
No, dude. What a legend to put keep on the left ass cheek and pounding on the right ass cheek.
No, that is not good. That is not good. That is not good.
Dude, what a legend.
No, that is awful, bro. That's going to be, that would go down in the history of tattoo fails.
Can I tell you, I'm heartened by the amount of people in the chat saying that they would rock a C3 tattoo. We love y'all, man.
I like that. Somebody said the wrist. What about the back of a hand tattoo? And then the question
Oh,
is, do you do
that
it
might
this
be the
way or
move.
do you do it this way?
Oh, that's a good one. That might be the move. Man, y'all are giving me ideas, boys. Don't
Neck tap.
fuck around. Oh, right on my neck. Yeah, hell yeah, that's hard as fuck. But boys,
One in your
look,
neck or your back?
I don't know.
Your...
I've been wanting one. Well, the C3 tattoo I'd probably got on the back of my hand, but I've been wanting a chest tattoo for a while. So maybe right above my shirt, like right below my neck.
I was thinking about one, my neck, my back, my. Oh wait.
Yeah. What's that called? My neck, my. And Panther Pickle probably knows what it is. But anyway, Tony, you're muted, by the way. Look, let's jump into it. This is one of the things that everybody's been waiting for us to talk about it, and we need to talk about it, man. Ejiro Evero. This man has been the defensive coordinator for the Carolina Panthers for the last 3 years. And this year, the Carolina Panthers defense led up the most points in NFL history at 534. Like, as you would expect, Panthers fans have been absolutely incensed. And they have been really upset that Canales has basically decided to give another opportunity to Ejiro Evero. So this is from Darren Gant on Panthers.com. It says, there was obviously criticism, but Panthers head coach Dave Canales never wavered. So even after a tough season for a defense in a constant state of personnel flux, Canales knew who he wanted calling the plays for him on that side of the ball, defensive coordinator Ejiro Evero. He would go on to say, Evero will be back with us as the defensive coordinator, Canales said simply on Monday as they wrapped up the 2024 season and began looking ahead. We have a lot of things to evaluate over the next couple of days and then certainly into the offseason to reflect on our schemes, to reflect on our personnel, and to reflect on the guys that we have here going forward. Since he walked in the door, Canales talked about working against Evero as a coach from the days in the NFC West. So he's confident in the system because he's seeing it work. Of course, the Panthers are coming off a year where they allowed the most points, the second most total yards, and the third most rushing yards in NFL history. So obviously there's work to do, but he trusted Ejiro Evero to do it. I played against this defense. I played against it in Seattle with the Rams for a bunch of years. I played it against it twice last year. I know that this defense will look like, and I'm committed to that. Ejiro's committed to that. So it's about developing the players that we brought in and evaluating our schemes. So we have to be able to look at our schemes and really be critical of all those things as well. He would finish by saying, it's about seeing who's out there to challenge our roster and who can help us get this defense to a place where we know we can. And boys, look, I put something on Twitter and I'm just going to read it because it's short, but it's pretty much verbatim what I think about this entire thing. And I think that it does bear mentioning on the show because this is what I was saying even before the year. So I said this on Twitter. Look, I did not want to retain Ejiro Evero. I think this 3-4 defense fits us like an NBA player fits into a car seat. That said, as a fan base, we knew we were punting on defense this year as the express objective was to build around Bryce Young and bolster this offense with weapons and better O-line play. We had no Derek Brown, no Shaq Thompson. We traded Brian Burns. We had revolving doors at almost every position in our defensive backfield throughout the years. That's a tough ask. Dave Canales is choosing to give Ejiro Evero the benefit of the doubt. They want to give Dan Morgan and Brant Tillis the opportunity of another offseason to build up the defense, and I choose not to freak out about that. It's not what I would have done, but I'm choosing to rock with the instincts of the head coach who deserves a ton of credit for how strong we finished the season. So, in short, I'm going to trust Dave Canales. I'm not going to freak out about this. There were a ton of injuries. I don't love this, but I'm going to trust Dave Canales if he says that that's what we need to do. And it's as simple as that. I'm not going to freak out over it.
I mean, what can we do? I mean, it's happening at this point. I think the thing that sticks out to me is that we've become so fixated as fans and knowing the history of the Panthers on the shift back to a 4-3. And retaining Evero at this point, while knowing you have to rebuild the defense, does not indicate to me that there is an ideological commitment from Dan Morgan and Dave Canales to a 4-3 defense, right? I think maybe one other – I think everything you said by the way, NBA player in a car seat, great line. If we did punt on defense, I just wonder how much Evero's contract and how much Dave Tepper has spent on coaches. Does it have? Is he just like, look, let me get through one damn coach's contract where I didn't pay him millions of dollars and him go out early? But I think, to me, I was surprised.
Yeah,
I was surprised. I did. If Double E was fired, it would. I mean, how about this? It was more surprising that he was retained than it was that if he would have been fired.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, if you have the worst defense in the history of the NFL, that is, I don't care who you have on your team. Like, that is walking papers type of numbers. And I said it, and I was very adamant about it. If Evero maintained the position that he was in, that is a direct indictment on Dave Canales. I love everything else that's happened. But one of the things that Dave Canales has been able to avoid is criticism for the defense. Even as the head coach, when you have a team that has that bad of a defense, it still rolls to the head coach. And you have to make decisions as the head coach to bolster this defense. Now, I think Dan Morgan said the right things, taking, the blame for many of that, much of what we saw. But this team was already on a pace of historic lows in the first game against New Orleans. We were literally did not stop them once until maybe the fourth quarter on that defense. And we saw what that team turned out to be. I said maybe they were just a really good team. Maybe we were playing a legit contender in the NFL. And it turns out that wasn't true. And so to put that into this category of being able to say that Evero gets a bit of a pass for last year, it'd be different if this wasn't 2 years in a row of this run defense looking absolutely garbage. The worry I have is they're going to build a defense around a 3-4, around this scheme that Evero is building, and it's not going to work. And then we're going to have to restart rebuilding this defense. We're going to have to pivot and then get defensive players that fit a different scheme. Like, I think that's an issue. And I don't think that there is anything that Evero has shown here or even in Denver that makes me feel like he deserves this type of leeway. It just feels as though, like, some people were alluding to, maybe there's something about that contract that David Tepper paid him that was like, if we're going to pay him that type of money, we got to keep him around.
He was, if I remember correctly, like the top paid assistant in the NFL, like coordinator. It was like something when at the time it was, remember, David Tepper threw a bunch of money at Frank Reich and those guys. I'm with you, CK, is that I think that the need for a defensive overhaul is so apparent that sticking with a guy that you might not stick with next year is a risk in itself. But really, it's an indication in so many ways of, or I don't say an indication. I feel like maybe just from hearing Dan Morgan's press conference, hearing Dave Canales, the idea of not having to make dramatic changes in philosophy or coaching staff lets them focus on football more.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I guess that is continuity, but hey, that's what it is Ejiro kept his position, and we're gonna need to see. For me, I feel like is that it's time to see some real proof in the pudding.
He's gonna have no leeway after this. Like he will be out within the first 10 games. I would say he will be gone. If this defense doesn't show any growth in the first 4 games of the season, he's going to be out on the street in 4 games. If this defense doesn't have some sort of a turnaround. And, to be honest with you, the problem with that is when you are, I know a lot of people are saying we're not the worst. I can understand that argument because of the 17-game season. But when you have, even take that 17th game out of the equation, we're still top 10 in the NFL for worst defense in the entire history of the NFL. Yards per carry, we're number 3. And that's more indicative of a per game basis, per carry basis. The per game is also abysmal and still in the history books as far as being bad. So at the end of the day, the problem with being that bad is there's only one direction to go. And so I could see an incremental increase happening and people saying, look how much better this defense is, and let's retain him. I worry about that type of stuff.
I think there's a real signal, though, by keeping Evero, that this front office and the head coaching staff realize that the players, whether it's not just injury, but that they just don't have the dogs on defense. And what I expressed to you, I don't know if you guys got a chance to watch Monday Night Football, but what was a playoff game during the regular season between the Detroit Lions and the Minnesota Vikings, despite the Detroit Lions pulling away late in that game, both of these defenses, I found myself rooting for each team's defense. These guys were thumping, bro. They're out there just laying the wood, playing fast, playing tough, playing mean. And I just kept saying to myself, I wish the Panthers defense was like this. I miss it. You know what I'm saying? So look, it's time to get some dogs. Evero's here. Cody Lack. Somebody go back up. Go back up a couple. We got I think it was Stonewall.
Yeah, man, I favored it. Shout out to Stonewall. Said I ordered a C3 coffee cup, man. Y'all head over to CarolinaCatChronicles.com and get y'all some merch, man. Pick up a C3 Panthers Podcast t-shirt or pick you up a coffee mug so that way you can start your day with the C3 Panthers Podcast every morning with your hot cup of Java, man.
We sold 2 this week, so we're up to a profit margin of $3, guys. Come on, baby. Let's go. Every little bit counts. Smash the thumbs up button. I saw D's Ill Skills, C3 Superfan for just $1.99 a month. He's here. He is the brand ambassador, right? So you guys, your time, your attention, the subs, the thumbs up, the donations, the merch, all of it, man, we appreciate it so much. Cody, I want to take some more calls.
Can I address one thing real quick? Because there's somebody in the chat talking about this. D-Max is talking about it's not the scheme. We don't have enough quality players on this defense. It is the scheme when you have a safety on CeeDee Lamb. It is the scheme when you have your CB3 on their best wide receivers, no matter what the team is. But when you're facing Jamar Chase, when you're facing any of these guys Mike Evans, when you don't have your CB1 on their wide receiver 1, especially when they're superstars, supposedly, that's a scheme issue. That is 100% not allowing you're basically asking to be diced up. Like, it's just if you believe that we don't have the skill position, then the best thing is playing your matchups. And this is a scheme problem if the design is made that way. That 3rd and 20, I don't care how bad your defense is. That should not have been converted. Your soft zone should not have been 3 feet in front of the end zone. Like, that should not have been the place that Drake London's just able to sit there with not somebody around him within 10 yards. Like, that doesn't make sense. That is a scheme issue. And even if you were to argue there's not enough quality players on this team to be able to maintain this defense, there is a part of this that's a responsibility of the defensive coordinator to coach these guys up and be NFL quality players. And it did not seem like any of these players got better as the year went on. There is not a single player that we felt like was like, you know what? From week 1 to week 18, what a difference they made. That's on Evero.
Yeah, I mean, I was saying this earlier, guys. I don't think Evero is the worst defensive coordinator in the NFL. I don't, and I know that now he has the unfortunate award of having all these worst in the NFL, awards. Not an award, but that's tied to him. But it is true. We were missing so many players, and I agree. Like I said, I don't love this scheme. I don't think a 3-4 fits us. Like I said earlier, it's like an NBA player in a car seat. It just doesn't work out too well. But I do think that if you give Brant Tillis and Dan Morgan another opportunity to build up this team the way that they want to and focus on defense, and that's what we're getting ready to talk about. We're going to talk about Dan Morgan here in a sec and what he said, but giving this team an opportunity to put more powerful defensive players on this team, you're going to be able to fix some of your backfield, hopefully get some better linebacker prospects, fix the front seven. And who knows, man, maybe this defense can actually turn out to be something. Like I said earlier, I'm just going to choose to trust our boy Canales. You want to take some more calls?
Yeah, let's pop through some calls.
What's
the
good,
number's
C3? This is D.
252-228-59.
And I'm trying to get in my cat call. Want to give you some thoughts on my individual review for the Panthers. I knew that was going to be a focus of the show tonight, and I'm certainly excited to see it later. This big run and the kind of the alleviation that the fans have had, like Tony said, the fans are back in a way. And I think a lot of that started back on November 3rd against the Saints. With that 1-point win, that 1-point victory at home, kicked this off on this momentum, this improvement that we've seen from the Panthers, of course. We traveled all the way to Germany. That certainly didn't count as a road win, but in a lot of ways it was, and defeated a poor Giants team. Almost defeated the national champs, the Chiefs, in a close game at home, only by a narrow victory that Patrick Mahomes escaped defeat that day from the Panthers. And then a close Bucs game as well, where they were barely able to beat the Panthers. That was some really good momentum we had, even though into a loss. And another loss again against the Eagles, but another great game that nobody really expected the Panthers to be in to only lose that game 16-22. Now, the Cowboys game was a bit of a fluke. I don't know if we were drinking our own Kool-Aid or what it was. The 4 turnovers set us back big time, only to bounce back even stronger with an overtime win against the Cardinals, with Chuba Hubbard leading the way there to end that game in overtime. The Bucs blowout, the second matchup, wasn't too good for the Panthers at all. But to end the season, hey, we did it the right way. With Bryce Young having 3 passing touchdowns, 2 rushing touchdowns, that have never been done by a Panthers quarterback before, certainly set a precedent and have Panthers fans elated right now for what the future holds. We didn't have this type of feeling in any of the time that Matt Rule was here. We didn't feel like we were going in the right direction or that this team was headed in the right path. But at least now we have that feeling with Coach Dave Canales and GM Dan Morgan. So we did trade up for a reason finally. And a lot of fans needed that validation. They needed to see that type of game from Bryce Young. And what better than an overtime win? And heck, even Miles Sanders had a great game. Look at the way he was used in the passing game by Dave Canales. Shows you a lot of what maybe he wanted to do with Brooks, but Brooks never got the opportunity. I just think the way that we ended the season couldn't have been any better for the Panthers. And of course, we don't have any say on what they're going to do as far as free agents or what direction they decide to go. But C3 is a great community. We'll be here for you guys and invite you to join us on the X app. We're going to have Legion shows on Mondays now here in the off season. We can do mock drafts and all kinds of different things there on those shows as well. And of course, we're always here Tuesday nights, C3, and then it's a Friday free for all. So want to wish you guys a happy new year. And just remember right here at C3, this is where the fans matter.
Dude.
Pound and brand ambassador. We love you, baby.
These. I can't tell you how much the call means to me, how much you mean to me as a friend, but also how what they're doing on Spaces is like a dream come true for me. Because if you look at the very first T-shirt that we made, the Voice of Panther Nation, right, is that these. You know what's even cooler than people listening to podcasts? People taking ownership of it.
Yeah, man. People feel like they are C3. That's what we
And
want.
they are.
They are. Y'all are. Every one of you are every bit as much of C3 as we are, baby. The C3 Legion is strong. Let's take another call. Tell me if we've heard this one.
You fucking guys. How you doing, huh?
What's
Yeah,
up, Paisan?
It's been a minute since I've been on a horn here. So, Cody, Tony, CK, sometimes Greg. How you boys doing, huh? It's been pretty fucking rough over here. Just keeping everybody in the loop, whoever gives a shit. I'm healing pretty good. Stitches come out tomorrow.
Ooh,
so that's
awesome,
good.
brother.
So I've been pretty fucked up since late October. But finally coming around, hopefully back in the gym in a week or two. So that'd be good. Anyway, enough about that bullshit. Hey man, fucking 5 wins on the season. This summer I think I called 4 wins. 5, I'll take that shit. Team looked pretty good, you know, aside from the defense. But, you know, it became started off like shit, you know, getting blown out 40 burgers to fucking 10 and shit, but you know, the team kind of turns it around, actually made it kind of fun to watch. You know, that last game against the Falcons, nice little shootout, you know, scoring 44.
Yep.
That was awesome. We have to set some kind of record this season with the most overtime games, right? What we have, like 3 or 4? You know, I'm really not used to overtime games.
Ooh, that's a good question.
Anyway, I just wanted to call, you know, remind you guys that I'm fucking still alive. It's gonna take a little more than a little fucking cancer in the gut to fucking get me down. You know what I'm saying?
Cancer's ass.
But, oh, dude, real quick, probably the most excruciating pain I've ever fucking had, man. Almost fucking 2 months, this fucking shit in my gut. I couldn't even pull my fucking horn, dude. It was horrible. Anyway.
Damn.
You guys have a good show. I gotta go.
Love you, brother. Keep pounding. If there's anyone that can kick the ass of cancer, not once but twice, oh, it's the Paisan.
Did he say pull his horn?
Yeah, he's talking about you know,
I know.
Yeah. He plays the French horn.
Yeah, he's pulling his horn from his book bag, and you know, that's what he's talking about.
Well, hey, keep pounding.
Keep pounding, brother. Love you, man.
Glad to hear you're recovering, man. Glad to hear you're recovering. That's tough. At first, they take training camp away from you, and then they get you. This happens to you, brother. It's a tough year, man. Your come up's about to be incredible. I'll tell you that much.
Yes, sir. Next call.
Okay, brothers, how y'all doing? It's G of RCA.
What up, G?
Excuse me. Y'all seen the damn news? Goddamn, Double E is coming back to be the defensive coordinator. Why? That dude fucking sucks. And I was reading online and everything, and everybody was saying, "Oh, well, look at all the injuries he had, and this and that." And everybody was hurt. And the thing is, with that, y'all look at Detroit. Look how many motherfuckers is hurt on their damn defense with the damn Detroit Lions. So it's just a daggone excuse. Hopefully, he runs some more 4-3 defense than that 3-4 shit. Cause I don't know. I was pissed when I read that shit earlier. And on top of that, the quick question is Hassan Reddick a free agent, or do you still with the damn Jets? Because everyone keeps saying, well, we're going to get Garrett Wilson, whatever, who I really don't want, to tell you the damn truth. I do not want his ass. But, you know, because Shaq, you know, wants to retire as the damn Panther. You know what I'm saying? Be drafted by one team and retire with one team. But does Shaq still have anything left? I don't know, y'all. I do not know. Give me your thoughts on that, y'all. Keep pounding.
So I actually had this in the presentation, so it's a good time to just go to it. I even have a video of Shaq Thompson talking about how many more years he thinks he has left. Cover me for 1 second, Tony. I'll pull that
All right, so Shaq Thompson been with the Panthers since 2015. The first player I've ever bought a jersey of I was gifted Cam Newton jersey before he played it down with the Panthers. But Shaq Thompson was a player that I bought his jersey before he ever played a down for the Carolina Panthers. Excited about the type of player he was coming out of college and his athleticism. Really interesting and impressive rookie season. was slow to assume really big shoes of Thomas Davis and Luke Kuechly, particularly as they continue to play Thomas Davis and then Luke Kuechly. But Shaq Thompson, one of these cool player stories where there was the latter part of his career is better than the former part of his career. And one thing about Shaq is he's been through the team with this organization through a lot. And it really is nice to have a player that has some sort of, and I don't even know why, to be honest, he's got this commitment to the team and the organization, given the way fans, maybe like me even, but I mean, I've never been anti, I just wanted him to be that the guy, so much. But some tough years. And I mean, there's I've got a lot of respect for a guy that has put this organization, this team ahead of himself so much. I think as keeping around in the short term, there's nothing wrong with that. I think believing that having Shaq though is alleviates the need for strengthening even that position group would be short-sighted.
Yeah, I think that his presence doesn't stop you from doing it. But at the same time, if he wants to play and he can still play, I don't know, it's going to be an interesting conversation going forward. Before we play Shaq, shout out to our girl, Kristen Butler, with the $10 C3 bomb. Says, fun fact, your girl has a plant nursery and currently crossbreeding a few super hot varieties with the Carolina Reaper in honor of Bryce. Need some name ideas. Ooh, I'm going to go with that Bryce Cole, Christian. Or Kristen.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah, that Bryce Cole, it's kind of like ironic since it's a hot pepper, but it's that Bryce Cole. Hey, that's just me, But yeah, this is Shaq Thompson talking about his future with the Panthers.
I did my career here. You know what I mean? One of the guys in history that played with one team, but it's up to them, right? These two injuries are fluky. Everybody knows about the one last year. And of course about this one this year, there's nothing I can do. But it happened, get better, and come back strong.
When you got injured?
I did my career here.
So he talks about wanting to end his career here, but he also mentioned that he knows that he's been injured, and he basically wasn't tone deaf. He understands, kind of what it looks like, and maybe if he'd be willing to come back on a prove-it deal. We talked a little bit about that. Look, I like Shaq. I like what he's done for us, but let's be real. He's been injured 2 years in a row, and we pretty much know the extent of what he's capable of. I would like for us to continue to upgrade. I think Trevin Wallace was awesome for us this year. I love what he has the potential to be for us in the future. And I don't know. I think that Shaq Thompson, he'll be in the Hall of Honor one day, maybe. But
I think that's a little generous right there. But
you don't think so?
I think this though is I like Rock Rhyme, and I gotta write this down. Rock Rhyme says we need Dave Cajones t-shirts. Yeah, man. We need some t-shirt idea as I get my life together, bro. We're gonna step up that game, and it'll be a lot easier to do it as the Panthers continue to ascend. I'm starting
Dave Cajones for his fourth downs. Riverboat Ron.
I'm in my Google Notes right now, starting t-shirt idea note, and Dave Cajones, and I still think apathy is just a good shirt that would just be for life.
So we have 6 more calls and a couple more slides.
All right, well, let's rock and roll, play them.
All right.
Good evening, C3 brothers. This is General Stonewall.
What's up, Stonewall?
I want to say, as far as the defensive coordinator goes, I think Canales just said what he needed to say right now. I think perhaps it would be great if after the season's over, if we can get someone from maybe Detroit's defense and let him be the coordinator, because they've got a really good defensive unit. So keep pounding. Wow.
Keep pounding. Thank you, Stonewall. Let's go to the next one.
Hey, guys. It's the girl that makes them howl, a.k.a. Joey the Blind Panther.
Joey.
Man, what a year. And when I think about this year, I have also thought of 2022 when we had Steve Wilkes and that whole thing but see, the thing about that year is that year was very yo-yo-ish. That year was like, it had this feeling it's like, yeah, we're cool, but like, in hindsight, it felt like we weren't really supposed to win any of those games that we ended up winning. But this year hasn't been a yo-yo. It's been sort of a yo-yo because we thought we had the spark in Andy Dalton. We really didn't. But this year has been more up than down, which can't really say about the Steve Wilkes year. It was a lot of yo-yo. It was a yo-yo ride of a season. And this year is, man, it's going to be hard not to expect a lot out of next year's Panthers team, even though I know I don't want to, because still need a lot of help on defense. We still have Evero. You know, his record is not a good one, but hey, who says he can't pull a Bryce Young? Because, you know, we might think we know, but, you know, a saying I came up with literally today. Anyone who knows anything knows that they do not know everything. So, hey, maybe Ejiro Evero can turn it around. I certainly hope so, because we certainly need it to happen. But, yeah, let me know what y'all think about that, and keep pounding and eat shit Falcons, and wow.
So I think the most interesting topic of the show is, what is the name of this hot pepper?
Oh, dude, we have some great ones in the chat.
Processed pepper? Oh,
Processed
that's a great one.
I almost want to say it should say something about evil. You know, because he was talking about how he didn't like the Reaper because it kind of sounded like it was evil.
Oh, yeah, maybe so.
I like, just because it's my favorite
player. How about because he's from California? Good kid, hot pepper. Yeah, that's a Kendrick Lamar reference. Y'all don't know nothing about that.
I like Julius Pepper, and make the pepper Julius possessive.
Yeah.
Julius Pepper.
We got Hot 9.
Yep, that's a great one too.
Taser Tippy Toes. Hot Ice Scrambler. Young Peppers. Shock and Scramble. Yeah, that's good. Blazing Bama.
Your thoughts on the call, real quick? You had some thoughts?
Yeah. Well, a couple of things on the Evero keeping him and what have you. I agree. I think there is always an opportunity that this guy's going to turn it around, right? And let's be real about it. That'd be great if it happened. The other part of it, I wonder, is, are they waiting to make the decision to fire him until they see who's actually going to be available after all the head coaching positions are filled? Because here's what's going to happen, right? If you go after a guy who's like, if you're going after somebody from the Texans, right? And because you like where their defense is looking, or maybe you're going somewhere else. I don't know, going from the Ravens. Well, the thing is, you're not going after their defensive coordinator. You're going after a position coach of some sort that you feel like is going to be able to bring that same type of philosophy here. Well, the problem with that is, if it's a really good defense, there's a good chance that defensive coordinator is about to get hired somewhere else as a head coach potentially. And so that guy you might want here potentially to be hired as the defensive coordinator, he may be tapped to be defensive coordinator of the other team or the team that he's currently on. So I think it could be smart to not fire your coordinators until after all the dominoes have fallen, to see if there's anybody actually left on the board that you're even interested in.
Yeah. All right, y'all want to take another call? Tell me if you heard this.
Hey, guys.
Yep.
C3 Panther Nation. What's good? It's your boy Preston from Hickory.
What's up, Preston?
Look, man, Bryce is our franchise quarterback. Point blank, period. There's no need in talking about it. Bryce is our franchise quarterback. So, moving on. As far as the defense goes, we retained Ejiro Evero. I don't like it, but all I know is Dave Canales better be right. He better be right. Because if we go out there for a second straight season and give up that many points and that many games again, and he's the worst defense of all time, I don't see how you retain that defensive coordinator. All I can say is Dave Canales, as well as being a very beautiful human being, he's, I guess, very, very loyal. Let's just hope he's not loyal to a fault. But, I mean, guys, know what y'all think, man. Keep pounding, baby. Keep pounding.
Keep pounding. We've already kind of talked about it. You know, just they're going to give them the benefit of the doubt. And only time is going to tell if that's going to pay off or not. It's not what I would have done. I don't think it's what most people wanted to do. But he's obviously not putting all the blame on Evero for all of our defensive woes this year. And I don't know what else to say about it, man. Seems pretty simple, but time will tell. All right, 3 more calls.
Hey, CK. Hey, Cody.
What up, Chuck?
Hey, guys. It's Chuck from Elizabeth City. Tony, I'm sorry I forgot your name, man. But anyway, I just wanted to say, is there anything more exciting right now going into this the playoffs? But we're on the sidelines waiting. But I'm so anxious to see what Dan Morgan does during free agency. Whether it be a receiver, back, some depth at offensive line, especially defense. What we're going to pick up, I'm really excited about that. And who can we retain? JC Horn get an option pick up. What do we do with I'd like to see Tommy Tremble back and Brady Christensen. Those are my 2 main guys that I want to see come back. But I'm excited about this draft too. Once we get everything lined up, we use free agency to set up the draft. I know we're probably going mainly defense, but somehow I'm just seeing that we've got to get a top-notch receiver somewhere. Don't want to spend a lot. We got to find someone. We've done it before with Chenault and these other guys who've never panned out. Man, we've really got to look at what we gained this year with number 18. The guy being an undrafted free agent Coker really showed us something, and we've got to keep her. So I'm just anxious to see what we're going to pick up and do. And just see this offense take off and just grow. And our head coach grow and our GM grow and just get this defense back to where it was. But, guys, I'm excited. I really finally feel that we've sooner than I thought, but I feel like we're coming out of the darkness.
Mm-hmm.
And there's hope
for good things ahead.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Chuck.
Bro, fucking dead over this. The chat is undefeated. Can't stop the runs, dude. That is the winner.
Yeah, Tony Gibson can't stop the runs. Hot sauce.
Gosh, dude. That is a man. We got to, bro. That is it. That is
Mr. Butler. If you're still there, you now have a plethora of names to choose from.
You better be crossbreeding a bunch of peppers because we got some good names.
Yeah, and by the way, on the what?
Sir Pepper. Sir Pepper. That's actually pretty good. I was thinking about it. Like I if you're looking up there, Tony, I put one in there under the C3 chat by accident. I was saying the Teppers pick pepper. Or Teppers picker pepper or something like that.
Oh, nice. David Tepper.
But it's about Bryce, right? Because we think that Bryce was his pick. So Teppers pick pepper.
Yeah. David Tepper picked a pepper. How many peppers could David Tepper pick?
All right, 2 more. Then we'll close out the show with a couple Dan Morgan slides, and we'll get on.
Hey. It's Panther Pickle. Listen, I don't like the thoughts of having Mr. Worthless Ejiro here. I'm really kind of pissed off about it, but I'm not just going to stand around and bitch all about it for 2-3 months. So,
that's what we're
nothing I can do about it. So let's build up this 3-4, put talent in around this team. And next year when Evero's contract runs up and then he goes wherever he wants to, then maybe we can get a better coach to come in here and coach this team. Because apparently Mr. Tepper ain't going to let this go back to a 4-3, so we might as well build up a real 3-4 and get a good quality coach to come in here and coach it next year. So keep pounding. We definitely need to get a nose tackle. Fact is, if I'm Dan Morgan, I'm going to draft a nose tackle and sign one in free agents, and those are going to be the only 2 tackles on this roster. Because I am going to release Shy Tuttle. Even if he was from Tennessee, he sucked. Keep pounding.
Hey, that's a fan right there. It's a fan of the Panthers. He's going to set aside his college bias and be willing to call a spade a spade.
Yeah. The final call of the night.
And if you haven't listened to the post, we just wanted to talk about the difference between Garrett Wilson and defense. Every caller brought up all I don't know what am I supposed to do? Stay on the line? Or? All right, I'll hang up.
Sorry, he didn't get that. It was answering.
Leave a voicemail. We play it. If we were all in the same room, if we all could do this in a C3 studio,
we could take screen calls and stuff. Yeah.
And we could interact with you live, but because of the limitations on technology for me and just the ability, this is, you know what? It's also cool though. In some ways, I like the.
Once Tony's kids are all grown up, we're all moving to Charlotte, and we'll make it happen.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, sounds good.
Hell yeah, dog! All right, listen, boys, we're at the final part of the show. Let's start to close it up. But before we do, gotta talk about Dan Morgan. Because just like Dave Canales, he did his end of the year press conference, and he shed some light on a few of the things that we've been talking about. Again, this is from Darren Gant on Panthers.com. Panthers general manager Dan Morgan knows what the problems are with his current roster. He used the word aggressive 5 times during his season-ending press conference Monday. But as he transitions into his second offseason, putting together the roster he used to be a part of, he also wants to build this thing the right way. I'm not really into quick fixes, Morgan said. I don't think there's such a thing as a quick fix. Obviously, you want to fix things as soon as possible. But I'm just going to go into it as, hey, listen, we know we're on where we are on the defensive side of the ball. We have to continue to add playmakers on that side of the ball. So I just think we have to look at every avenue and explore every avenue to find those playmakers. And, hey, if we find somebody and we like somebody, whether it's trade, whether it's draft, whether it's free agency, we're going to explore every path. So, boys, it's pretty much just what I've been saying. The mission is clear. Build up the defense. And listening to Dan Morgan right here, it sounds like he's willing to stop at nothing in order to do so.
Yeah.
It's modus operandi, I guess, maybe. It's like, is whatever it is, the mission is clear and it's right. And I think it was just great to see that focus and determination on one side of the ball last year. And now, man, imagine if you could put together a notable improvement on defense like you did on the offense. All of a sudden, you go from a 5-win team to a 9-win team. And if you get hot at the right time, maybe you're even more.
Yeah. I just like that they know what the mission is, man. This defense needs to be better. And part of that is paying the guys that you already have. And Tony, CK, I've been talking about how important I think it is to pay J.C. Horn. It would appear as though Morgan is in the same boat with that. It says Morgan is well aware that the defense needs to be the priority this offseason. He described keeping cornerback J.C. Horn the same way he described defensive tackle Derek Brown last offseason, just before he signed Brown to a long-term contract extension before he went into the final year of his rookie deal. I think I said to you guys the last time I talked to you guys, Morgan said, that JC is obviously the focal point of the defense, somebody that we're going to want here long-term, and we're going to work on getting him a long-term deal. I've already told y'all before, I don't care how much we pay him. This is the nature of the game. You know, you have to pay your players, man. You can't let everyone walk out the door. And whether or not you think Brennan should have left, or McCaffrey, or Luvu, or Chin, or whoever, you can't let all your homegrown talent walk out the door. I've maintained for a long time J.C. Horn is one of the most talented people on the entire team. And if you continue to look at what he's done this year, he shut down most of the best wide receivers that he faced, with the exception of Mike Evans, I would say. But to me, that was more schemed than just being on him. So
yeah,
pay J.C. Horn, man. Have no problem with that.
Yeah, you can't, especially if your plan is to keep Evero on top of that. Bringing in brand new guys to learn this scheme all over again is just a recipe for giving Evero another excuse next year.
Imagine making your mission to fix the defense, but not locking up the most important, one of the arguably most important and difficult positions to find a guy at cornerback. And probably we should start thinking about what we need to do with Mike Jack.
I think you're bringing that dude back.
Yeah,
I think he's a quality depth piece at corner. I think he played very well as cornerback too. I don't think it means we don't make it a priority to look at cornerback in the draft. But the dude came in and he played well. I think we move forward with that dude as the primary cornerback behind J.C. Horn, assuming that we get some of these other pieces shored up.
Yeah, pay that man, like my man Tony Gibson says. Moving on. So he also talked about in Cameron Corner. This I'm not as big on, but we'll talk about it. But he used similar language about left tackle like Cameron Corner, like Brown and Horn, a first-round pick, and one they have to make a decision on his fifth-year option by May. I see Icky as a piece that we've been around here for a long time, Morgan said. He might have played linebacker, but he knows how to build an entire roster and to do it sustainably. Having quarterback Bryce Young bounce back in the second half of the year as well as he did is obviously a big part of that. And there are other things the offseason needs, such as another receiving target, a backup quarterback, and a center, since all the ones on the roster are free agents. He also has a special teams group that's going to hit free agency too at the same time. Boys, I'm not into paying Cameron Corner top left tackle money.
We're not even close to having the conversation of extending him.
Oh, we do. We kind of have to, because you have to make the decision on the fifth-year option this year.
Yeah. All right. So how about this? I would put him under the fifth-year option. I mean, I know it's expensive, but I'm not paying
him top left tackle money at that point.
Yeah, but this is just I don't know, man. I really don't know what to do in that scenario. I do not think he has shown. I mean, look, this year was good. He's better running the football. I think that he's made strides in pass protection, but I still don't think he has that full arsenal of maneuvers to be able to go up against the very best defenders in the NFL.
I think the other thing is that I don't think there's as much of a risk with paying him the fifth-year option, because I don't think in his fifth-year option all of a sudden he's going to become the best left tackle in the NFL. So you might overpay a little bit next year, but then if you're heartened by what you see, be able to negotiate a fair contract for both sides at that point. I don't just all of a sudden seeing him taking the leap to where it's like, oh, he figured it all out. Maybe, I mean, I hope he gets better, but imagine taking that leap to where you're like, oh, he's a top tackle in the league. That would be a significant change in what we've seen.
But that might be also a reason why you do extend him now.
Right.
Like you extend him on the basis of where he stands currently in hopes that he does continue to accelerate and he's considered a top flight, you
get ahead of it.
You're going to save a little bit of money in the long run if you do something along those lines. Same thing we wish we would have been able to do with J.C. Horn prior to him having a Pro Bowl year this year.
Yeah. And then last but not least, Dan Morgan touched a little bit about this draft that we have coming up and this 8th overall pick. He said, we have a process. We're going to be really thorough in that process, Morgan said. I think, again, just going back to previous conversations, we just have to draft really good players and playmakers, guys that are different makers, especially in the top 10. So whoever that guy is, we're going to feel like it's going to be a difference maker for us. And, yeah, we'll be excited about that. So while he knows his job is the long one, how did you feel like they made some tangible strides this season? Going 5-12 might not have been anyone's preference, Morgan said. Going into the year, he had no expectations. But he did like what he saw as the Panthers went 3-1 in overtime games, pushed 3 straight playoff teams to the last moment of 1-score losses, and won 2 of their last 3 to close the season. Obviously not the season that we really wanted in terms of the records, he said. However, I do feel like we're making progress. Guys are trending in a good direction. I feel like the culture is changing here. Guys are starting to feel like what it's like to win. We only have had 5 wins, but it feels like the momentum is kind of building. I think guys are feeling good about the direction that the team is going. And Tony, just us doing this podcast, I feel that being true because I feel it from the C3 Legion. I feel it from the fans. There's more hope around this team than the absolute swill that we've been dealing with the past couple of years. So that is true. And knowing how important he knows this defense is and rebuilding it in the right way, knowing how important having a top 10 draft pick is, I think Dan Morgan's looking to hit home runs in this here draft. And I'm here for it, man. Go find them dogs, Dan.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it sounds like it might not be including Brady Christensen.
Yeah, I have that on here too. Tony, do you have any other thoughts on Dan, or you want to go to the final locker room slides?
I would just say that the line that 5-12 might not have been anyone's preference is. I actually don't think that that's a bad finish line.
I mean, it's improvement from last year.
Yeah.
When you have a GM who's coming in here with a bit of a handicap in all reality, like you had a guy, you're basically coming into this offseason with the GM previously, your predecessor, if you will, having their I don't know how you want to, their fingerprints on what the scouts were looking for last year. And so this is his first year. This is where we're going to see a lot more a matter of what he wants out of players, more so than just what we saw last year, even though I think last year was pretty reasonable.
I also think, too, if you want to talk about players and the excitement, I think one person to look to is a former Panther who has become more and more involved with the team, and Jonathan Stewart. He tweeted this out 2 days. Attention to all free agents for 2025. The Panthers is where you want to be next season. Go talk to your agents. And then he tweeted, off-season focus for the Panthers is depth, defense. Bryce is playing with that aura. Look, Jonathan Stewart, also a mild-mannered dude. The excitement, or at least on the face, he is. You know what I mean? Obviously, he got that dog in him, too. That excitement is clear with him, too.
Yeah. So that was it for Dan Morgan. You just talked about this, CK. So I've been a big fan of Brady Christensen since he's got here. I think he should have been given a chance to start at left tackle when he was drafted in 2020. But it's looking like we're probably not going to have Brady Christensen next year. Panthers do it all. This is from David Newton. Panthers do it all. Offensive lineman Brady Christensen says he wants to test the free agent market, but he would not mind returning. His goal is to do what's best for my family. Basically, he's saying, I'm going to go where they're going to give me an opportunity to be a full-time starter like they never really gave me here in Carolina.
Or get paid. I mean, you know what I'm saying? For a player that's a bubble, that is not a clear starter or something like that, is that the difference of $3 million for him is a lot.
Couldn't you put an unrestricted free agent tag on him? Unrestricted franchise tag, I mean, where you can allow them to go and negotiate contracts with other teams. And if we aren't willing to match it, the other team would be having to pay. And then that will allow us to be able to negotiate a contract with him based on what other people are willing to pay him.
Yeah, but would you do that for a quote unquote bubble player though?
Well, I mean, who else? Who on this team right now would you put that any franchise tag on?
Mike Jack.
But that's a good point. Who's playing center for us next year? Because all 3 of our centers are free agents. Christensen's about to leave. Corbett's about to leave. He's been injured for the past.
Well, one of these guys can come back.
Yeah, he's been injured, and Cade Mays looked good this year, but he's also a free agent.
I thought he was in his third. Oh wait, we cut him, and so that ended his rookie contract, didn't it? Yep.
Yeah. So now he's going to be back. No, he's not going to be back with us, and we don't know if he's going to play center. So I don't know, man. This is a real conundrum. I don't want to see Brady Christensen go. I think he's a good football player, but I also just kind of think that it's inevitable
the upside of the Corbett is I think you're going to get a pretty reasonable deal out of him because of his injury history. And I think he's aware based on, I'm sure you might be talking about, you might play his thing here in a second, but he's pretty well aware that he's going to have to do a prove it deal because of coming off of two surgeries that were season ending 2 years in a row.
Yeah.
So it's not lost on him that's going to be something. So we might be able to get a discount out of Corbett if that's an avenue we want to go. But I'm all for hanging out with and keeping Brady Christensen if we can manage it. The problem is that it sounds like he isn't necessarily all in on the Panthers, and I wouldn't blame him because he's kind of gotten the chin treatment the past couple of years.
Yeah. Tony, what say you, man?
That's it. I agree with CK.
All right. Adam Thielen got some buzz basically saying that he's considering retirement, but he said that he considers retirement every season.
I'd say I'm leaning in a certain direction. I'm not going to tell you what that looks like, but yeah, I mean, it's such a grind mentally and physically that when you're at this point in the season, there's a lot of thoughts in your head, right? So that's why I got to take some
Especially
time.
if you're on a losing team.
Just not thinking about football, focus on my family, and then make a real decision after that. But yeah, I mean, obviously, to end the season healthy is a huge bonus. When you end the season healthy, you feel like, all right, like I feel good. Get back to training, and I'm excited for next year. So yeah, I'd say I'm leaning in a certain direction. I'm not going to tell you what that looks like.
That's repeating.
It's looping.
I'm sorry. Yeah. So what are the chances you think Thielen actually retires? He says he does this every year, but I don't know, man. Like
he is. That's a dang. He's fishing for more money.
You think so?
A little
I think
bit.
he might be pushing. I wouldn't be surprised if by the end of the offseason he's asked for a trade of some sort.
Well, I don't even know if it's a trade. Imagine if you just want a restructure of your contract. It's still a 1-year deal with a 2-year option kind of thing, but you want a little bit more juice to come back.
I mean, I felt like he got paid pretty good from the Panthers, to be honest with you. I don't really
He did, but he's also played pretty good too.
He's played okay. I mean, I think he's played to his contract. Like, I don't think he's outplayed his contract. Like, his contract was pretty lucrative for a guy who's a sub 1,000, yard receiver this year. Like, I know he catches everything that's thrown his way, and he missed some time. But I really don't think that the year and a half that he's been here, it warrants him asking for some crazy increase in pay. Now, it's possible that could be what he's going for, or that might be the only thing that keeps him from retiring potentially. But I feel like the way it started with that statement, like it's such a grind, like that felt genuine. And the thing that didn't feel genuine was, well, I ended the season healthy. So then you're always like, maybe I can do this. Like that felt like it was just like almost a smoke screen. It felt like the first part was real. The second part was, so I think he's leaning towards retiring personally. But I also could see there being a situation depending upon how the offseason goes with whatever acquisitions we get in free agency, whatever we do in the draft. That could also tip the scales one way or another for him.
Heart is with the Vikings, is what Kristen Butler said. You look at what's going down with the Vikings his whole career. Interesting point there. Is that it, Code?
No, the final. Damn, did I not put it in there? The slide for the playoffs, and I must not have. So let me bring that up real quick. Just to look at how the playoffs are looking, and
it's a real balance of ages there, isn't it? Like there's young players, there's middle-aged players, there's kind of 28, 29, and then there's that 36 to 30, 36. Those are the older guys.
Yeah. So this Saturday, we're gonna have the Denver Broncos versus the Buffalo Bills. And I also believe on that day is the Chargers and the Texans.
I like the Bills. I don't know what to think about Chargers Texans.
I think the Chargers have that one. I think the Texans are too beat up in their wide receiver core to actually be able to compete with what the Chargers are able to, do offensively.
Yeah, I do too. I'm taking Buffalo, and I'll take. I'm taking the Chargers to come out on top of that one.
I'm taking
we
Buffalo
also got
too.
The Pittsburgh Steelers and the Baltimore Ravens, and the
Ravens.
Pittsburgh Steelers are coming off of 4 losses to end their season. That's like a record. I don't think that's been done since like the playoff era or some shit, that a playoff team hasn't.
Right. Oh, wow. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's something wild like that. So, yeah, I'm going with Baltimore. I think that Derrick Henry and Lamar are probably playing their best ball right now, and they're probably
that's a sleeper playoff team. Is like kind of not a lot of buzz around that team since the beginning of the season, but man, they got so many ways that they can win on defense and on offense, man. And I wouldn't want to be playing the Ravens in the playoffs.
And the Steelers have been fool's gold all year. Like, if you ever watch their games, like, it does not feel like they're really dominating anybody. Their record just makes it seem like they're just so much better than they are, in my opinion.
Yep. Then going over to the NFC, we have the Green Bay Packers against the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm taking Philly in that one.
Oh, no doubt. No doubt.
Jalen Hurts is still in concussion protocol.
Oh, yeah.
So
also a lot of injuries for Green Bay, too.
Yeah. Now, there is no, like, that's this week. That's not coming. Like, there's, February 9th. So there is no, or no, that's the Super Bowl. But the playoffs are this weekend, correct? There is no week off for that. I know the bye week.
Just the bye week teams get the week off, which is Kansas, Lions, right? Is that it?
Yeah.
So
Lions,
this is next week for the wild card. We have Green Bay and Philly. We have Tampa and the Commanders.
Oh, I think we're all Commanders fans. I'm
going
and I love Jaden Daniels, so let's go.
Yep.
I would
Jaden Daniels, Commanders. Fucking Baker and all his bottoms. Then we got the Los Angeles Rams and the Minnesota Vikings. So Minnesota's been one of the best teams all year, and Sam Darnold has put himself into the MVP consideration, and then they play on Sunday Night Football. Was it Monday or Sunday?
It was
Sunday
last
night.
night.
Yeah.
It was Sunday night. Then it was Sunday night.
Yeah, they didn't have a Monday game.
It was the Minnesota Vikings against the Detroit Lions, and Sam Darnold came crashing back down to earth. Dude.
Oh, I wouldn't even go that far, man. Them teams were playing so mean. He was getting beat.
Oh, dude, that offensive line was so porous. It was ridiculous.
Or I think you saw a real playoff game in the regular season, and man, it was tight. Some of these games, man, it was tight all the way to the end of the third. And then one thing happened, and it kind of cascaded after that. I'm taking the Vikings here.
Yeah, same.
I'm also taking the Vikings. I think that Darnold and Justin Jefferson pull it out.
All right. I think that's it, guys. We got one last segment, man. We appreciate everybody who's listening. Make sure you smash the thumbs up button, subscribe. Longest running Panthers podcast, 11th full season, bro. And we're going stronger than ever because of the C3 Legion. The final segment of the C3 Panthers podcast, the longest running segment on the longest running Panthers podcast, is the Ice Up segment, where we tell someone to ice up, toughen up, to get it together. Cody Lack, let's ice some fools up.
Let's ice them up.
Ice up, son. Ice up.
It's our homage to Steve Smith, where we tell someone to ice up, toughen up, get it together. Everyone is fair game, from 12-year-olds in Oklahoma to myself to people on the football field, off the football field. Who's up first? I only got one tonight.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
All right. My ice up pick goes to people who either consciously or subconsciously text you controversial bullshit shit right before important shit that is happening in your life. Right where they know that your life is going to be doing something that is important, that they send you a text message. You ain't throwing me off my game. Ice up, fools.
Ice up.
I'm just going to ice up Fox Sports. Like this whole thing going on with Joy and those guys, dude, that's some wild stuff. And like,
of course, it's always some shit. Why can't we go a whole season without a story like this?
I know.
Because men are dogs, bro. Like, it's like let's be real about it.
That's gonna be our damn.
Let me tell you, speaking of Joy Taylor, apparently that dog knows how to hunt. So, you know what I'm saying? I don't know, man. Don't hit the player, hit the game, I guess they say.
Yeah, so I'm lighting up all those guys for that situation because their marriages are probably in trouble.
Yeah.
Or you can pay $1.5 million to keep it, which is what Skip Bayless supposedly offered to
the hairdresser to be able to have sex with her, though. That
better have been a joke. I ain't offering nobody. I ain't even offering you $150, let alone a damn. Man, you pay me.
That dude would have hit it and then gave her $10,000 and been like, "What are you gonna do?" Like,
total dude move.
I don't know. I had a couple of them, but they all kind of suck. Tonight's not a great.
So does
night.
Joy. Sorry, what?
No, man. I'm going to. I don't know, man. I had a couple of them, but now I feel like I don't really have a good one. Now I feel
all
like
right. Well, we're icing you up for not having a good one. You always got a killer one.
Yeah, I know. I normally have a killer one, but I haven't been finding them.
All right. Well, hey, even better. We get to ice up Cody. Everybody likes to ice up Cody on Twitter. Might as well be Twitter versus Cody.
Oh, dude, that's right all the time.
All right. Man. Well, hey, man, it's been a blast hanging out as usual. What a ride this season was, really. I mean, if you think about it, I can't believe, to be honest, man. Thank you, Panthers, for helping me kick off 2025 in a better way than 2024 felt. Also, CK, was it you that said that? Yeah, you said on the postgame show, we're undefeated in 2025. We've got a better record than the Chiefs.
We'll be one of the only teams by the end of the 2024 season, up until the preseason games start. We'll be one of the only teams that are going to be undefeated in 2025. And I only say that because there were a few teams that are not in the playoffs that did win. But they're the people that are in the playoffs. There's only one that's going to go undefeated in the playoffs. So we're going to be one of the only few teams that are undefeated in the 2025 year.
All right.
I take it back. Don't ice me up. I do have one.
All right.
Courtesy of the boy white.
Icing you up.
Ice up this goat for like not wanting to be alive, I guess.
Oh, you don't see animals commit suicide often. He's doing them a favor.
My
You know, my boy Gary, he'd be like, "Let's cook that goat."
I thought the other one was about to get in there. Oh my gosh! I'm like, what are they doing to these goats?
Oh my god!
Oh my god!
They are not the goat.
God.
So ice up to that goat. You probably need some ice after being in the fire for so long.
We probably need some ice after those guys do what they do to that goat.
Oh,
afterwards.
easy.
Hey!
Underrated meat right there. I know an Indian friend of mine, man. He'll get butcher that damn goat right over the sewer. All right. That's the C3 Panthers podcast brought to you by CarolinaCatChronicles.com, where every Tuesday night we chop up the latest Panthers news and opinions from the fan perspective. It's been great hanging out with all the people in the chat. Thank you for all the calls. Thank you for your support. Cody Lack, CK, you guys are my brothers. Thank you. Cody Lack, take us out of here.
C3 Legion until this Friday at 7 p.m. for another edition of the Friday Free For All. I'm Cody Lashley. That's Codizzle Allen. That's the Professor Tony Dunn. Signing off for another Tuesday night. C3 Legion, we bid you keep pounding.
And keep